Hey, it's me, Jay Van Dam, and we're starting a brand new thing for everybody. It's the Beginner Series. We want to cover things for somebody that's just started fishing or hasn't even started yet. We want to let them know what's the best things to use. Our very first episode of our Beginner Series is going to be picking a rod and reel. I'll start out with my favorite, and if you guys have been watching Rods in the Dirt, everything I've caught, I've done on pretty much on a basic setup. About a $50 good reel, 7-foot graphite fiberglass composite rod. I've had this rod over 20 years, caught thousands of fish on it. So it's really important when you pick out a rod and reel that you get something that feels good in your hands and comfortable. I like to be able to go to a store and pick out what feels good in my hands. Once you go to a store and you get an idea of what feels good for you, then it's okay to order off the internet or whatever, but you're going to be using this a lot. So you want it to feel good in your hand, comfortable. If you're throwing lures, you might hold this rod 6, 7, 8 hours in your hands. So it needs to feel good and comfortable. So this is my go-to, my basic setup. Then we have a lot of folks, when they first start fishing, they use what's called a spin cast or a closed-faced reel. And it's basically it's similar to a spinning reel, but it's got a cone over it. These reels, they've come a long way and over the years. I guess they're fine. I've used them occasionally, but when I go out and fish, I want to optimize my time on the water. When I want to do that, I want to use what works for me and what's comfortable to me and what I enjoy using. So there's nothing wrong with these. Just I found something I'm good at and have used countless hours. And that's what feels good to me when I fish. We also have a fly reel. I'm not a fly fisherman by any means. I've actually never even done it. Watched it a lot on TV, and this here is just a basic fly reel. It goes on about an 8, 9, 10-foot rod. I don't know a lot about it, but this is what it is if you would be interested in getting into it. Then here's a bait caster. A lot of folks use this. If you watch TV, you watch tournaments, or you participate, whatever, you're going to see a lot of guys throwing bait casters. They love them. When I started fishing 25, 30 years ago, bait casters were old and cumbersome, and you had a lot of troubles with them. So I never really picked it up. I see a lot of guys throw chunking lures, bass fishermen are throwing lures with it all day long. They're tough. They've got a lot of magnetics and clutches in them now, which make them a lot better to use. Once again, I found something that worked for me and that I'm comfortable with, and I perfected that to the best that I possibly could. So when I'm out on the water and I want to optimize my time, I want to use what works for me. A lot of guys practice and just love these. Cat fishermen, yeah, they love the bait casters. You can throw heavy weights with them. You're going to winch that fish in. They're really durable, strong, and have a lot of power. I even throw this in. This is just a basic ice fishing rod. Of course, it's only a couple feet long and a spinning reel. I ice fish once in a while. I've even made my own ice fishing rods with a hunk of Dow and an old tip off a spinning rod and reel, or spinning rod. So that's basically the options. Of course, there's more. I'm trying to address the beginner fisherman that wants to get out there and just give it a try, or maybe somebody gave him a spin cast reel and they've tried it a couple times, and you're interested in it. You need to go get you about a $50 solid rod and reel, a good basic. This is a medium action or medium light action 7-foot graphite fiberglass composite rod. It will serve you well for years. This one, I broke the tip a couple times even and replaced it, but overall the years, it's just been magnificent. So go to the store, get your hand on something, get it, make sure it feels comfortable in your hands. Buy you around a $50 spinning reel. Go out and give it a try.
And reels, what brands would you recommend?
My favorite, what I started with, was a Mitchell 300 reel. I went through some troubles because I had cheaper line at the time, but durability wise, just amazing. I mean, just amazing. We are very rough on our equipment. We pound it off rocks and sand gets in it and everything that can mess them up, and they've just been amazing for me. Yeah, I'm not saying I haven't broke a couple over the years, but had years and years of use out of them. Recently, got the President from Pfluger, and I've used it for a season or two now. I really like it. It's pretty much comparable to the Mitchell. Basically, I mean, I've tried all kinds of brands, and they're all good. You get basically about a $50 reel. It's going to be pretty durable and get you through. So, of course, there's a lot less expensive options on the market. But just starting out, you know, you don't. A lot of folks maybe are watching bass tournaments. These guys have 10 rods and reels and a real expensive boat, and you don't have to do all that. I never did all that. You know, I always had to do things economically. So I got a few outfits like this, and they're my go-to. You know, but it's important that you feel comfortable with what you're using. So take the time, you know, research it on the internet, go to the store. A lot of the reels now, you can actually go and they're in a plastic clamshell pack, but the handle will actually be sticking out so you can feel how smooth it is. You know, you want a reel that's going to be smooth. If you get one that's grindy, that might interfere with feeling a bite from a fish. So you want something that's nice and smooth, going to be there. You know, I always like to do that. That can show you right there. And this Mitchell reel, I haven't even greased or oiled it up for this season. And you can see, I mean, it's, you know, taken years of pounding and abuse. So I'm all about this.
I tried a bunch of different ones when I first started fishing with you, and I didn't listen to you. I went for the cheaper ones to cheap out, and I ended up replacing them over and over and over until I got sick of it, and I just went and I bought the Mitchell.
Well, see, I did that too.
And they've lasted me years since.
That's why I was trying to tell you, because I've been through all that, you know. All the companies make spinning reels. It's just what I'm comfortable with. It's important to me to go, when I go to fish, it's important to know that my stuff's going to work. So I don't mess around a lot with trying other stuff. If I know something works, life's short. If something works, use it, perfect it, and enjoy your time on the water.
Is there any brands you recommend for rods or any specific rods?
I've had this rod that I've had for 20 some years is an Abu Garcia. Years ago, I bought a Mitchell 300 rod and reel outfit. I still have that. I'm not sure who manufactured that rod. I don't think it was actually Mitchell. It might have been Fenwick. I'm not certain. I like the Fenwick rods. Matt bought me one for a Christmas present, and I've enjoyed using that. Although in the first season, I lost that much of the tip already. So, but the rod itself is nice. It casts well. When you're picking out a rod, you know, you don't want something real whippy. If you get 100% fiberglass rod, it's going to be pretty whippy at the end. You see Matt and I throwing a lot of light stuff, like 32nd of an ounce jigs, and sometimes using no weight at all. So you don't want something too whippy, but you don't want it too stiff also. That's why I like go with a medium light and medium action rods. Usually they're pretty good. That's a matter of experimentation and maybe read reviews online, you know, and try to get a feel for what you're possibly going to go buy. Maybe get a few ideas in your mind, then run down to the store and actually get a few of those rods in your hand. That comes with using it, and it also depends on what kind of line you're running.
So if somebody's going to their nearby store, what's a good rod that's not going to break?
Ugly Stick gives 5-year guarantees, and I do have a couple Ugly Sticks, and they're pretty good. I guess if you're beating it up, if you're a bank fisherman and you're going hiking and you're beating your stuff on the rocks, Ugly Stick rods are nice. Their ends tend to be a little bit whippy. They're good though, so they'll last you. If you're a beginning fisherman, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to beat your rods up. Maybe an Ugly Stick is, a moderately priced rod to get you started.
I've never broken any of my Ugly Sticks.
No, I haven't either, and I've got 2 or 3 or 4 of them anyhow. I just don't like on the real light stuff. They're great for a big ball of chicken liver. You know what I mean? But when I'm throwing a jig with 3 or 4 or 5 night crawlers or more on it, I don't want something real whippy. I want some type of support there when I cast it. It's a matter of, I don't know how you break that down without actually putting it to use. You just have to, that's experience and use.
Do you go with graphite or fiberglass rods?
I want composites. Composites are the ones. This is a composite. This is fiberglass and graphite. I have another one over here that was actually, this rod here was something I bought on clearance. And this is a graphite composite, and this was, I'm going to say 25 years ago. The pure graphite rods, if you ding them, you hit the side of the boat a few times or you smack them on the rocks, that pure graphite will crack and it'll have micro fractures. And then over time, that'll fail on you. The fiberglass composites with the graphite, you get the best of both worlds to me, and what I've always been successful with.
Does it matter if they get a 2-piece or 1-piece rod?
There you go. That's a good question. That's a really good question, Matt. I prefer 1-piece rods. I've had a lot of the 2-piece that will break right at the joint. They're great if you got a smaller vehicle or you're in tight quarters. Then a 2-piece rod is nice. The 1-piece rod can be a hassle. Say you're hiking around a strip mine pond or something. If you have it broke down, it's a much shorter deal. 1-piece rods, though, are my favorite. I don't like messing around and having to worry about that joint breaking. That has happened to me quite a few times. But probably because I didn't spend big money, I don't know. It's just what I'm impartial to. If I can use a 1-piece rod, that's what I want, if I can get away with it. One of the nice advantages of almost all spinning reels on the market is you can interchange the handle. In other words, you can take this handle out. I'll just show you real quick. Just basically turn this screw and your handle pops right out. So what you can do then is put it in on this side. Put the screw back in, and then you're set to reel this way. Of course, depends on your hand, if you're right or left-handed. I'm right-handed, but this is how I had to learn to fish, because back in the day, Mitchell didn't have a reel handle that was interchangeable to go right to left side. So that's how I had to learn to fish, and that's how I'm comfortable. Once again, it's really important with what you start out with. You just want to be comfortable with it. You want to have confidence in it. And this right here is what makes me confident. Now you have bait casters, and of course this is a one-sided reel. You can order bait casters now in left hand or right hand.
But it's not interchangeable.
No, not interchangeable. You have to order it in right or left-handed, or pick it up at the store that way. This closed-faced or spin cast reel, the handle's not interchangeable. Some of them are. That's just something you have to look at when you're purchasing your rod and reel and check it out to make sure that if that's important to you. The spin cast is also can be used for bait casters, and basically what that is a shorter handle with a grip for your finger. So like the bait casters, they can pretty much palm these reels when it's on a rod similar to this. And if you notice, you have small eyes, and the reason is in spinning, the line flows off or loops off. So you need a bigger eye to contain it as it comes out, and then it gradually gets smaller. And there's usually a bigger back end to a spinning rod, and I really like that too. If I've got a considerable size fish on, I'll use this right against my forearm, and I'll get all the leverage I need right on my forearm as I set the hook. And that's something else you could or should consider when you purchase a spinning rod, is how it feels in your arm. You get the 8-10 foot ones, and a lot of times they have a really long back end on them. So basically you can put it in your gut, so to say, and fight it. This just is perfect for my arm, so you might want to consider that when you're picking up a rod. I actually have some 8 and 10 foot rods, and I've cut down the back handles because they're so long and feel cumbersome.
And that longer handle offsets the weight of the tip of the rod, so it's less
more
fatigue.
balance. Yeah, this here is more bait caster or spin cast rod. You more are fighting the fish with your wrist, opposed to a spinning that you're actually using your whole forearm to fight and not so much your wrist. And believe me, if you get a 10, 15, 20 or up size fish on, it just feels, to me, it just feels right, and I get the leverage that I can use out of my forearm, my full arm, rather than just my wrist.
What are the really giant, monstrous rods good for?
The really huge rods are, you get, we call them pool cues actually. You get a big rod, handle, and maybe a 10-foot rod. They're great for getting distance, for fishing big baits with heavy weight. Probably one of the best things is that once you hook a fish, and say you have a 10-foot rod, if you're bank fishing, you gotta be careful, because if there's trees around, then maybe you're held to a 7-foot rod when you set the hook and set into a tree or something. But if you have the room, a 10-foot rod will give you a lot of leverage on a fish. You can really bear down on it, pull back, and it's going to bend. And another good thing about them is when you get close to the bank, if you're bank fishing, and say you have debris along the bank, you have more control trying to get that fish around obstacles, so to say.
What target species would that be good for?
Catfish, shovelheads. I guess if, like the musky fishermen pretty much throw 7 or 8 foot rods, so ocean fishing, of course, maybe big carp fishing.
I've made the mistake of buying reels that are too small or too big, and then I realize it after the fact, and then I waste all that money.
Yeah.
So how do they choose what size reel to get?
Now, once again, I'm going to have to say like a Mitchell 300 is like about a perfect size to me. When you use a rod and reel, you want it to feel balanced in your hand. This has just been what is so perfect, and the Pflueger, the President series, just reminds me so much with the durability and the feel and the comfort in my hand.
When I got started, I got a bunch of ones that were way bigger, thinking it would be better, but then you just end up spending more money online that you don't use.
Well, and they're heavier too.
They're heavier, so they fatigue you over hours and hours of fishing in a day.
Yeah. But like you've seen me catch big catfish with reels this big. if you're gonna go catfishing and you're gonna prop that rod up on a rod holder or something, that's fine, and they work great. I thought when I first got into the catfishing aspect that I would have to have this really monstrous reel, and they do work. They hold more line, but I've proven time and time and time again that this basic rod and reel will catch everything from 2 ounces to over 50 some pounds. Past that, I don't know. That's the best I've ever done. But just for, if you're going to have 2 or 3 basic outfits to fish with, and you don't have the money to run out and buy 20 or 30 rods and reels, I don't think that this can be beat. Not in my eyes.
If you're going to throw lures for 2 or 3 hours, that's about the perfect size, because any bigger than that, it weighs too much. It wears your arm out.
Yeah.
The turn radius of the handle is way bigger, so
Yeah.
it takes much more effort to wind it in.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to guys that throw the bait casters and just love them. You're palming that, and I imagine that's really comfortable. Over hours of fishing, you see the pros, and I mean, they spend hours and hours and hours chunking lures, and this is what they're using. Once again, I guess it's a matter of comfort. The pros also throw spinning reels. But just recently, back in the day, you didn't see a professional bass angler use anything but bait casters. Now, because of finesse fishing and things like that, then they go with spinning reels. For me, I'm not a professional. I'm not out pounding a tour. So when I get to go, I just like the basic spinning rod and reel. I mean, there's always going to be something better, and somebody's going to say, well, I love this 10 times more, and that's great. I hope you do, and I hope you get all the enjoyment in the world out of it on the water. For me, this is what I get my enjoyment, and this is what I feel confident using every day. Confidence is a really big thing in fishing. If you aren't confident in your equipment, then when you're battling the fish, you're going to wonder if your equipment's going to fail. Is it going to hold up to the battle, or can I get this fish in? You don't want to be thinking about that when you're fishing. You want to enjoy that fight and think about the battle and get the fish in, and above all else, let that fish go, especially if it's a trophy.
Yes.
So we'll wrap up this beginning episode of our beginner series. I hope if you're an advanced fisherman, maybe I said something that'll give you a hint or help you. But if you're a beginning fisherman, try to listen to what I've said, because I've done all this for a lot of years, and I hope it'll help you and encourage you to get out on the water. We're going to come at this with several other episodes. We're going to focus on line and hooks and sinkers, and basically what I'm telling you isn't the gospel, so to say. I'm just trying to tell you what I've learned in my experience. Maybe I can help you avoid some minor pitfalls, and it'll make your fishing more enjoyable and give you a great first trip, and that'll take it from there and spur you on to enjoy years of fishing like I have.
Go to work.